I grew up with both of my parents and my brother in a small rancher house within a suburb off of the highway. Things were always quiet, and crime rarely ever happened. We were the only kids on our street, and we were surrounded by other houses with old couples. Due to this fact, I was comfortably left at home quite often whenever the others wanted to go do something somewhere else late. The story occurred once my brother was old enough to drive and hang out with his old friends. One fateful night, my brother was out very late, and my parents went out on a date, planning to come back at around 11 p.m. I was playing Halo 3 all night. That dates my story if that helps. My 14-year-old self lived for these nights alone, gaming non-stop without interruptions until my parents came home. It is worth noting that I do have 2 large dogs at the time, and the living room has 3 huge windows, which open toward the street. I could see about halfway down the driveway from the couch, where I was gaming. At about 10:30 p.m., I hear what sounds like a car door. I'm thinking that it must be a neighbor, since I didn't see any car pull into the driveway. But the dogs said otherwise. Dogs were freaking out, as if my parents had just pulled in. I, not thinking anything of it, just stayed where I was and yelled for them to stop. Our dogs were all trained and waited patiently by the door. I see what looks like to be like a silhouette or two pass by the window, so I go to shut off the Xbox. Now I'm thinking that my parents came home a little bit early, no biggie. I put my controller away, and I hear the doorknob jingle. "It's unlocked," I yelled, as I go to the kitchen to get myself a glass of milk. Again, no biggie. I hear the doorknob jingling once more. The dogs go back to barking. Weird. I could have sworn that it was unlocked. "Hold on, I'm coming," I yell. I take a second to get my glass of milk prepared. Look, I was a teenager. I had selfish and dumb priorities back then. Looking back, I'm kind of glad that I did. That extra minute might have spared me. I go back to the front door, and I see that it actually was locked. Huh, it's kind of weird. I unlock it and walk away. "It's unlocked now," I say. I go back to the kitchen. The dogs basically have their noses against the door, trying to get to my parents. After about another minute, I'm genuinely confused. I go back and open the door. There's no one there. I peek my head out and look down the sidewalk. I look to the other side of the yard. There's no car or any person. The road is clear. Who the heck jingled my knob then? Where's the car door that I heard? Now I'm freaked out. I called Mom's cell and told her what happened. And then she said, "We're on our way home now. Call Mr. Jim," which was our next door neighbor who owns a 12 gauge, "and we'll be there soon." So I locked the house down as much as possible while calling Mr. Jim. He said he'd be right over. I'm looking outside, making an effort to look opposite of wherever he patrols, in case the perp, CSI lingo, ran from him. Absolutely no sign of anyone. Mr. Jim then comes inside and waits with me, saying that he didn't see or hear anything. Nothing like this has ever happened since. Neighbors never reported any break-ins or suspicious characters as far as I know. My mother is 100% convinced that it was just late, and I was delirious. Wouldn't be the first time that I sleptwalked or sleep-talked or anything like that, but I've learned to know the difference. I believe that I was fully conscious. Like I've said, I've lived a fairly normal and uneventful life. No crime or risk to my life to speak of, except for this one thing, so I thought I'd share. I'm not sure if this belongs here, but I did want to share. I understand this isn't something extremely creepy or odd, but it did make me feel uncomfortable. I don't know, I just wanted to share it. Maybe I'm just overreacting. I am a 21-year-old female, and I live in an apartment with my boyfriend who is 25 and his best friend who is also 25. I had called the leasing office to ask them for new blinds in my bedroom. Our bedroom has a glass window looking over our balcony, and we have vertical blinds. Sometimes the blinds get loose and break, and they fall. In particular, for example, we had at least 5 of them, and they just kept falling all the time. I called the leasing office last week and asked for replacements. We weren't notified that anything was fixed, and one blind kept falling, so I called again. They confirmed that somebody had already been out there to fix them, which they did, but must have missed one. I confirmed this, and they said that they would send someone else over to fix it for me. That was yesterday. Before I get into this actual encounter, I want to say, previously I had a run-in with a maintenance worker. The apartment policy is that they are required to knock, and if nobody answers, they can't just barge in. A few months ago, I had been in the shower and had gotten out and wrapped myself in a towel when I randomly see 3 random guys in my apartment. I was freaked out and quickly got dressed and asked what they were doing here. Apparently our roommate needed something and didn't give us the heads up. This entire encounter, they kept looking at me and one even kept smirking and smiling, and it made me feel very uncomfortable. My boyfriend ended up calling the leasing office, kind of pissed off, and basically explained that he wanted to receive calls anytime someone was coming over to this residence. Basically just notify me just in case. So, now today, I'm laying in bed and my class got canceled, so I'm waiting until 4:30 to go back to school. I normally wouldn't be home at this time. I heard a loud knock at the door, and I already knew it had to be the maintenance people. I quickly threw on some running shorts. I'm in an oversized t-shirt and make my way to the door. However, the door opens instead and in walks a man. He's at least 6 foot. He's a big guy. He's not overweight or not in shape either. I would describe him to be a linebacker body build. He's probably in his mid-40s, early 50s maybe. So I'm standing there in the middle of my apartment and I say hi. He stares at me and says, "Oh, no one was supposed to be home." I cock my head to the side and he emphasizes that he called and they said no one was home. I say, "Oh yes, that's my boyfriend. I'm supposed to be at school, but my class got canceled." He steps into the house and starts eyeing me, and I am instantly a little confused as to why he keeps looking me up and down, and I'm feeling uncomfortable. So I decided to walk away into the bedroom to grab a broken blind. I yank it down and turn back around, and while I'm doing this, he says, "Is your boyfriend?" I say yes. He watches me put the broken blind on the table. He's still smiling at me and giving me this weird look, continuing to look me up and down before walking past me into the bedroom. He stops halfway into my bedroom and turns around and says, "So, you do have a boyfriend, huh?" I'm getting annoyed and even more uncomfortable, and I say, "Yes, I live with him." He asked how old I am, and I nervously laugh and say, "I'm 21. He grins again and once again looks me up and down. "You don't look 21. I hear this all the time. I look a little bit younger than what I am. I'm also only 5'1", so that doesn't help at all. I say, "Well, I am," with my nervous laugh. He keeps smiling at me, and it's not an inviting smile. It's not one of those dad smiles where it's like, "Oh, you're my daughter's age, that's why," or something like that. It's an uncomfortable smile. It is a smile that makes me feel even more uncomfortable and confused. I say nothing and we literally just sit there staring at each other for about 15 seconds before I turn away and walk into the kitchen. I realize I have nothing else to do, so I walk back into the bedroom and grab the bowl that I had been using and bring it to the sink. From the corner of my eye, I can see him watching me. It takes literally 2 minutes to change the blind, and he comes back out. Instead of walking straight to the door, he stops outside of the bedroom, which is right beside the kitchen. He just stares at me, and I continue to keep myself busy. He isn't speaking, so I say, The broken blind is on the table. Do you want me to throw it away?" He doesn't break eye contact, and he's still smiling and says, "What table?" I know this motherfucker can see the table, and is right next to him. It's literally in front of him. I point to the table. Right there?" He glances over and nods. "Yeah, I can throw it away for you." I say thank you, and he starts to walk away. He glances back a few times before he's at the front door. He opens and just stands there for a few seconds, but all of which creepy and unnecessary. I'm not sure how to explain it. It just seems as if he was hesitating for a few seconds. So he pauses and says, "I'll lock the door for you." I just nod my head and say thank you, and then he closes the door. This entire encounter was so creepy. Update. I told my boyfriend the story, and he was very upset. Said he doesn't want maintenance in our apartment without him or my roommate anymore, especially if I'm home alone. I'm not sure whether he plans to speak with them or not. The reason they have a key is because the apartment policy, and maintenance is allowed to enter. They have to knock first and let themselves be known, just in case somebody is home, and then they have the ability to enter. I don't feel too comfortable, but I also have a taser now. I also have wasp spray and pocket knives in my home, so I feel a little bit more safe and comfortable using those, if I have to. Our roommate only works about maybe 5 minutes away, and he never minds my calls and picks up immediately. So that is always very helpful. Thank you for the kindness and suggestions. I appreciate it all, and I hope you all stay safe. This occurred to my wife and I after I left the Marines. The story is much shorter than the last one. After leaving the military, I was obsessed with hiking and jogging. I like to push myself to see how much weight I could carry and how far I could run or hike. Every Sunday morning at 0500, my wife would drive me out to about 8 miles away from our apartment. I would road march, and I would also have a heavy pack just to take through town and back home. This particular Sunday was very warm. She dropped me off at the location. We said our goodbyes and she returned back to the apartment. It is not terribly dangerous where we live, but having done some combat deploys, I was always aware of my surroundings. Therefore, I was carrying a handgun that was typically located in our bedroom. When my wife returned to the apartment, she noticed that there was this white Honda, which was parked near the front of our unit, which had not been there before. She thought that this was kind of odd because it was so early in the morning. She thought about not getting out of the car because she was a little creeped out. She decided to go in and walked in quickly. She got back into the bedroom to try and get some more sleep while I hiked home. Our apartment was ground level, and there was this big large bush located in the front of our window, with gravel surrounding it. As she laid in bed, she heard some slight shifting of the gravel. She laid there silently, just listening. Then she heard heavy breathing, and she said that it sounded like there was somebody right there with their lips on our window. Due to the heat, our window was open. There was still a screen and large drapes. My wife laid there silently for several minutes, while the breathing continued. I don't know what came over her, but she got ballsy. She jumped up on the bed and threw the drapes open. She saw a grown man standing there, who immediately turned around and started walking around the corner, out of view. She didn't say anything to this man, but she could see his shadow from the light above. The man stood there still breathing really heavily. She described it almost as an intentionally loud, In a flash, the man took off in a dead sprint for the white Honda. My wife said that she had no idea what to do because she was terrified that he would return. She knew I had the gun, so she grabbed the K-bar, large military-style fixed blade knife that I kept underneath the mattress. She waited for about 5 minutes before running out of the house and getting into her car. She drove to the route that I had told her that I would be hiking and found me. I remember it clearly because my wife's car pulled up and she was bawling and she had the big-ass knife in her hand. She explained everything and she drove me home. I called the police on the way. When we arrived, the white Honda was gone. The police in the apartment complex had reported they had some reports from suspicious, unknown what they meant, activity happening recently in the early mornings. He was never caught to my knowledge. It creeps me out to this day that somebody is still out there, probably getting excited every time that he gets away with something. Not as scary as some of these, but when you consider how close your loved one was, or would have come, to possibly something happening, gives me the creeps. Thanks for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. I've got a lot of content and a lot more coming, so if you do like these stories, make sure to let me know down in the comments. Make sure to like, comment, and if you're new to this channel and you like what you heard, make sure to subscribe. We're doing nothing but growing. For all of my channel members, I will have a video out by most likely the end of the week. If not, maybe like Saturday or something. It's written by, directed by Gemini Reads original. So if you guys would really like to see that, make sure to let me know down in the comments. Or make sure to just sub to the channel members. Trust me, I've got a handful of other narrators helping with this project, and it's very in-depth. So I would really like a lot of people to hear it. But make sure to check out the links in the description, like Twitter, Instagram, everything like that is in there. Including my Gmail if you would like to submit a story. Please submit stories. I enjoy them. Wow, that sounds really morbid, but okay. I'm off. I'm tired. I'm sorry. But with that being said, stay safe, stay scary, and I'll see you in the next one. You guys really should check out that channel members video that's coming up. It's fucking wild. Okay, bye.